All right, let's talk about something that might sound a bit technical on the surface. Green surfactants and emulsifiers.
Yeah, the names themselves sound like they're straight out of a chemistry lab.
Exactly. But stick with us because these terms, they actually hide a really fascinating story about how industries globally are changing fundamentally.
They really do.
So simply put, green surfactants are those, eco-friendly ingredients. They make your sustainable soaps foam up or help natural lotions blend smoothly.
Right. Preventing that separation you sometimes see.
And emulsifiers. They're sort of the secret sauce, keeping things like salad dressing mixed, but the green versions do it without, well, harming the planet.
A key distinction.
Today we're doing a deep dive into a report called Green Surfactants Market, Global Growth Trends 2021-2033.
A pretty comprehensive look.
Our mission here is to really cut through all that data, pull out the most important bits of knowledge, basically give you a shortcut to understanding this huge shift towards eco-friendly solutions worldwide.
It's like a quiet revolution happening in products we use every day.
Totally. So maybe you can set the stage. Give us that big global picture.
Okay, well, to grasp the scale, think about this.
Yeah.
Back in 2021, the global market for these green ingredients, it was already significant. We're talking just over $3 billion.
$3 billion. Okay, that's already substantial.
Right. But the projections, that's where it gets really eye-opening. It's expected to jump to over $4 billion by 2025.
Wow, okay.
And then leap again to over $7.3 billion by 2033.
So more than doubling in about a decade.
Exactly. This isn't just, steady growth. It's accelerating.
Right.
The report highlights a pretty powerful compound annual growth rate, that's CAGR, of about 7.6% over this whole period.
And CAGR, just quickly, that's like the average yearly growth.
Yeah.
Smooths out the bumps.
Precisely. It gives a clear picture of how fast this market is expanding year on year on average. And that 7.6% really underlines the rising adoption across so many industries. Personal care, industrial cleaning, you name it.
It really makes you think.
And it immediately makes us ask, okay, where is this shift happening most dynamically? Which parts of the world are really driving this?
That's a huge jump globally. And yeah, it definitely makes you wonder about the hotspots. So let's start our journey maybe in North America. It's already a big piece of the puzzle, right?
A very big piece.
In 2021, its market value was what? Over $1.2 billion.
That's right.
And it's projected to more than double, hitting nearly $2.8 billion by 2033. That shows a pretty solid annual growth, around 7.2%.
Consistent growth, yeah.
And within North America, no surprise really, the United States is the dominant force.
As you'd expect, yeah.
Over $900 million back in 2021, and that's forecast to grow to over $2.1 billion by 2033.
But what's quite interesting, I think, within North America is those slight differences in growth rates.
Oh, how so?
Well, the U.S. market is obviously massive in terms of value, but Canada,
Yeah.
it's actually showing a slightly faster pace of adoption. Yeah. Its market started smaller, around 136 million in 2021, but it's projected to more than double to nearly 350 million by 2033. That gives it a higher CAGR, around 8.1%.
Huh. Any idea why? Regulations, maybe?
Could be regulations, or perhaps, consumer preferences evolving a bit faster there. It raises questions.
And Mexico?
Mexico is also showing really robust growth, climbing from about 146 million up to over 354 million. That's a strong 7.6% annual growth rate, right in line with the global average.
Okay. Interesting dynamic there in North America. So let's hop across the Atlantic. Europe. How's the picture looking there?
Europe also shows very steady, substantial expansion.
Okay.
Its market was around 875 million back in 2021.
Right.
And it's set to grow to over $2 billion by 2033. The annual growth rate there is about 7.3%. So very solid.
Pretty close to North America's overall rate then, and the individual countries. Any standouts?
Well, you have the big players showing steady growth. The UK, for instance, going from just over 100 million to nearly 230 million. Germany, starting bigger at about 154 million, projected to hit over 340 million. Russia also shows healthy growth, moving from around 120 million up to almost 270 million.
Okay, steady players.
But here's where you see some real momentum building in Europe. France is a definite standout,
France.
projected to more than double its market. It starts around 124 million, goes up to over 320 million. That's a powerful 8.3, almost 8.4% annual growth rate.
Wow, that is significantly higher than the others you just mentioned.
It is. And Italy, too, shows strong, consistent growth, about 7.8% annual growth, taking it from roughly 71 million to nearly 177 million.
Right.
And here's something else that connects to the bigger picture, the rest of Europe segment.
Hmm.
This collection of other countries. It's actually a huge growth driver for the continent.
So not just the big economies.
Exactly. This diverse group is surging. Started at about 151 million in 2021, but it's forecast to hit over 420 million by 2033. That's an impressive annual growth rate of over 9.1%.
9%.
Yeah.
That's huge for a collective rest of category.
It really is. It suggests this widespread adoption, maybe less centralized, but very active across lots of smaller emerging markets all through Europe.
Fascinating. Okay, so from Europe's widespread growth, let's pivot now to Asia Pacific. You described it earlier as a dynamic hub.
Absolutely. Asia Pacific really stands out.
The numbers look pretty dramatic here. Valued around 566 million in 2021, projected to reach nearly 1.5 billion by 2033. That's almost tripling, right? With an 8.6% annual growth rate.
That's right, a really high overall growth rate for the region.
And within that, China and Japan seem to lead in just sheer volume.
They do. Both starting well over 100 million back in 2021, and both projected to grow significantly, well over 300 million each by 2033.
South Korea's contributing quite a bit, too.
Yep, substantial growth there as well. Australia and Taiwan show more, let's say, modest growth, but still positive, still part of the picture.
Okay, but you mentioned dynamic growth. Where's the real action happening?
Right, here's where it gets, I think, really interesting. We're seeing some of the absolute highest regional growth rates within Asia Pacific, particularly India, Singapore, and Southeast Asia.
Okay, tell me more.
India, for example, projected to nearly triple its market, started around 97 million in 2021, expected to hit over 280 million by 2033. That comes out to a remarkable 9.5, nearly 9.6% annual growth rate.
Almost double digits. That's huge.
It is. And then look at Singapore. Even faster expansion, relatively speaking. It more than doubles from about 18 million to nearly 56 million, the CAGR there, over 10%, 10.2.
10%. Okay, that's rapid.
It really is. And the broader Southeast Asia region is also surging from about 60 million up to over 170 million. That's another strong growth rate, 9.7, 9.8% annually.
So what does that tell us?
Well, it tells us that these emerging markets, they aren't just, tagging along. They are actively driving this global green trend. They're embracing these technologies super fast, maybe because the potential for growth is just so enormous there.
Right, they're leaping forward. Okay, let's move south then to South America. How's the picture there? Also showing strong growth.
Yes, South America exhibits a really robust trajectory as well. The whole region is expected to grow at a compelling 8.7% annually.
Okay, another high number.
Expanding from about 209 million in 2021 up to nearly 560 million by 2033.
And within the region, Brazil, I assume, is the big player.
Naturally, as the largest economy, Brazil is the biggest contributor in terms of value, growing from about 70 million to over 180 million. That's around 8.3% growth.
Solid. And others, Peru, Chile.
They also show steady growth, yeah. Smaller contributions in absolute terms, but definitely part of that upward trend. Peru around 6.7%, Chile maybe closer to 5.4%.
Okay.
But what's really striking, again, within South America are these almost perfectly mirrored growth trajectories we see in Argentina and Colombia.
Mirrored? How so?
Argentina is set to grow from nearly 28 million to over 79 million. That carries a formidable 9.5% annual growth rate.
9.5, wow.
And Colombia, almost exactly the same story. From about 17 million up to nearly 50 million, also at a 9.5% annual rate.
That's incredible. Almost identical high growth.
It is. It really highlights this powerful, consistent shift towards green solutions happening in these key South American economies.
And does the rest of South America play a role too, like in Europe?
It certainly does. Again, that collective category is a significant growth driver, surging from about 79 million to nearly 217 million. That's an annual growth rate over 9%.
So another theme emerging the growth is broad-based within these regions.
Exactly. It's not just one or two countries pulling all the weight.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to the Middle East. What are we seeing there? Steady gains.
Yes, steady gains is a good way to put it for the Middle East. The region as a whole is projected to grow around 5.2, maybe 5.3% annually.
Okay, noticeably lower than Asia Pacific or South America.
Definitely lower, yes. Moving from about 112 million in 2021 to nearly 220 million by 2033.
And the key countries? Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia leads in terms of market size, yeah. Going from about 42, almost 43 million to over 81 million.
Right.
Turkey and Qatar also make significant contributions. And then you have the UAE and Egypt showing slightly stronger individual growth rates, a bit over the regional average, somewhere in the 5.8 to 6.5% range,
Uh-huh.
both moving from around $10 million to over $20 million by 2033.
Yeah.
But what's really fascinating here, as you pointed out, is that comparison. While the Middle East shows consistent growth, that overall annual growth rate, the CAGR, it's markedly lower than many of the other emerging regions we've just discussed.
Yeah, like Asia Pacific and South America. What do you make of that?
Well, it does raise an important question, doesn't it, about the different paces of these sustainable shifts across various developing economies.
Right.
It suggests there might be unique regional dynamics at play, maybe different regulatory pressures or perhaps consumer demand shifting at a different speed. Or maybe even existing industrial infrastructure that's just slower to adapt to these green alternatives.
It's interesting factors to consider. Okay, last but definitely not least, Africa. You mentioned this region had something special going on.
Absolutely. Africa is, well, it's projected to be the fastest growing region globally for these products.
The fastest globally. Wow.
Yeah, with a really remarkable annual growth rate forecast over 11%, 11.15% to be precise.
11%, that's huge. So what are the numbers?
It's forecasted to reach nearly $191.5 million by 2033, starting from a base of about $57.5 million in 2021.
So more than tripling from a smaller base, but at an incredible speed.
Exactly. And leading the charge within the continent are Nigeria and South Africa.
Okay.
Both are projected to more than triple their markets as well, each showing annual growth rates of almost 10.8%.
Very strong growth in those key economies.
Very strong. But again, connecting this to the bigger picture, Africa's overall growth is truly the standout performer globally.
Right.
And guess what? That rest of Africa segment, it shows the highest growth rate within the fastest growing continent.
Get out! How high?
An astonishing 11.5, nearly 11.6% CAGR, surging from about 26, almost 27 million in 2021 up to over 92 million by 2033.
That is just incredible growth across the board there.
It really demonstrates a powerful trend in these emerging markets towards sustainable solutions. I mean, growth rates almost double the global average.
What do you think drives that? Is it leapfrogging older tech?
That could definitely be part of it. It signifies a huge leap in adoption. Maybe it's an opportunity, to build new industries and infrastructure with sustainability baked in right from the start, rather than having to retrofit older, less eco-friendly systems like in some more established markets. A unique advantage, perhaps.
A really powerful point. So let's try to wrap this all up. What does this deep dive tell us overall?
Well, the overarching trend seems crystal clear, doesn't it?
Yeah, the global green surfactants and emulsifiers market is just on this clear path of rapid, widespread growth. It's expanding everywhere.
Exactly. And I think the real so what here, the key takeaway, is where that growth is most explosive. While the developed markets, North America, Europe, they show steady, solid gains.
Right.
It is unequivocally the emerging economies, Asia Pacific, South America, and especially Africa, that are driving that truly intense double-digit growth in some cases.
Right. It highlights this massive global shift towards sustainable, eco-friendly solutions. It's not just a Western trend. It's truly global.
Absolutely global. And maybe the provocative thought to leave everyone with is this.
Okay.
If these underlying components, these sort of invisible green ingredients, are seeing such explosive growth all around the world, what does that tell us about the much broader transformation happening, maybe less visibly, across countless industries?
Like from cosmetics to industrial cleaning.
Exactly. From the shampoo you use to the detergents cleaning massive factories.
Yeah.
If the basic building blocks are going green this fast, how might that fundamentally reshape our everyday products, our industries, and maybe even our lives in the coming decade?
That's a really interesting question to ponder. What other subtle shifts are happening because of this foundational change?
Precisely. Something to think about.